Ghazali is joining us from Beirut. Ghazali, what is the situation at this point? Of course, you've been sending us reports since last night. Take us through the ground situation at this point. Are there constant attacks still? And have they spread in other parts of Lebanon as well? And any changes as far as the intensity of the attacks are concerned?
See, the place where I'm staying right now is the center of Beirut city, and very close is the airport, and there is an area called Dahiye. Dahiye is the area which is considered a stronghold of Hezbollah. Now that's a mountainous or hilly terrain. Around 7 lakh people usually stay there in that particular area, and that has been completely evacuated due to the intense bombardment from Israel for the last 3-4 days. Now that area is inaccessible. You can't go there. But besides this particular area of Beirut, there are many other areas of Beirut which are under attack. Even yesterday, there was bombardment from Israel. Hezbollah has also been firing rockets, and that was towards the Haifa area of the occupied territory. So the intense bombardment or the exchange of fire has been happening at multiple fronts, not at just one location. The areas close to the border, there we have seen ground combat by the occupied territory forces and Hezbollah. And to control that, to minimize the impact of that, the occupied territory government has been firing rockets into Beirut and other areas of Beirut. The road towards the airport has been damaged. The road which connects Lebanon and Israel has been damaged. So there has been that is why the situation is still remaining.
Okay, all right. Ghazali, you've also informed us that Hezbollah also had fired rockets on Haifa. 5 to 6 people we do understand have been injured. We do understand Hezbollah rockets that were launched last night, they did manage to breach the Israeli air defense system also, and that of course remains a cause of concern for Israel as well. But talking about Lebanon at this point in time, since you're in Beirut, what is the situation in hospitals there? You've told us how the city, roads are damaged and the connection to other parts of the city also is affected. But what is the situation in hospitals? Has water, electricity also been impacted?
See, as far as the hospitals and treatment of people are concerned, they are overwhelmed. Why they are overwhelmed? Because people from different parts of Beirut have been coming into the Beirut city. So the schools have turned into the shelter homes, refugee homes, kids, women. They're all staying there. Local NGOs are helping them. As far as hospitals are concerned, certainly they are also overwhelmed because a lot of hospitals are getting injured patients from far and flung areas of Beirut as well. But as far as the supply of essential items are concerned, or to say as what we have seen in Gaza, so that comparison is still a bit far-fetched, but yet because Beirut is the capital of a sovereign country, so they have resources to manage it, but it is still getting, it is under restraint due to continuous attack from the occupied territory forces. And you see, as we're reporting on the 1 year of this war, it doesn't look so that today, October 7, will mark a start of a new era or whatever, because this war is very likely to continue even from now onwards, because the way Israel or the occupied territory government has been firing, exchanging rockets, and they have been dropping bombs and aerial strikes in this particular region, it is only going to make Hezbollah stronger, because it will only gain more sympathy by the local population here. Earlier it was like that Hezbollah has dragged the entire country to the war, but now, since it's been more than 10 days of Israeli attack, it seems that people are also backing them. They are treating them as their saviors.
Well, yes, you rightly pointed that out, Ghazali. There seems no end to this ugly war between Israel and Hamas, and of course, in Lebanon also the impact has been witnessed. Let's talk about how things have really changed in the Middle East in the last few months. We also have Dr. Wael Awad, who's Middle East expert, joining us on the broadcast here. Thank you so much, Dr. Awad, for speaking to NDTV. It's 1 year to Israel-Hamas war. How do you think things have changed in the Middle East in the last few months? Israel, of course, has given a strong response to the attacks on its people and its territory. But the cost of the war is unimaginable. It's unthinkable. How do you assess?
Thank you, Kirti. I think the saga continues for the Palestinian people for the last 76 years of the Israelis come to existence, where we have seen that the struggle for liberation of Palestine and the establishing of a Palestinian state continued. And so this was the 7th of October was not the beginning of the war with Israel, but actually it was a culmination of the suppression and oppression and the expansion policy of Israel that led to this catastrophe. And I think the Israeli doctrine of the war have changed ever since the 7th of October, and they have come up from the deterrence into the offensive to prevent any sort of attack on Israel in the future. That's why they continue the bombardment on Gaza Strip and on West Bank, and there is a total annihilation of Palestine, and all the more than 4.5 to 6 million people in Palestine are under occupation of Israel. So that there has been a total destruction of Gaza. There has been a total displacement of 2.5 million people. There have been more than 42,000 people dead. 70% of them are children. More than 97,500 are injured. More than 10,000 are missing. And more than 10,000 people in West Bank has been detained, and more than 650 Palestinians have been killed. So what does it give you, this message? It gives you a clear objective that the objective of the Israelis is not to liberate, not to kill Hamas only, but to make sure that they internally or expel the most of the Palestinians out of Palestine. Having said that, I would say the salvage of the humiliation in Gaza Strip have led to the expansion of the war into Lebanon and now into Iran. So that is what brings the region into a catastrophe and the brink of a regional war.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Also, Mr. Awad, what I wanted to ask you was, it has come to a point where, prospect of ceasefire is seeming impossible at this point. Of course, there had been discussions as far as coming to an understanding is concerned. Biden seems to be in a flux. Do you feel enough diplomatic efforts have been made in the last 1 year to stop the war?
Radhika, it's on the contrary. In fact, if you look at the continuity of this war and unprecedented support by the United States, that makes the United States also accountable for the crime against humanity committed on Palestine and now on Lebanon. You look at the views coming from Israel that we are going to obliterate Lebanon and turn it into Gaza. And the United States sent more than 50,000 tons of bombs and latest technology and latest weapons to Israel. I mean, 15% normally usually goes annually to Israel from armed from the United States. Imagine with this war how much they have got, more than 70% of the arms. So therefore, all the bombs, all the attack are carried by American weapon, by the taxpayers in the United States. So the United States is collaborating and cohesive to this kind of atrocity committed on this war. And I don't see any reason why a superpower cannot even bring water to the people of Gaza. Look at the way they have been suffering. Not even, I mean, people who are not dying because of the bomb, they're dying because of the famine, the lack of water, lack of medicine, and now it is Lebanon. So they are only telling Israel to be careful with the civilian killing, but continue the war. The Western media even have already taken part in that campaign to ensure that Israel dominant comes back and Israel defeats.
But sir, Dr. Awad, what should happen now? What should Israel be doing? I mean, we do understand, this is very much clear. I mean, well, of course, the impact of the war is being felt in Gaza, in Lebanon, of course, in Israel as well. We've seen how Hezbollah also had launched these rockets last night, and they did manage to breach the Israeli territory. But what Israel needs to be doing now? What do you think? I mean, as we've been talking about it, the diplomatic efforts that have been made in the past 1 year to stop the war clearly have failed. There has been no progress in that direction, of course. The first option, of course, is, and the best possible option is to end the war. But if that is not happening, then what needs to be done?
So this is what I'm trying to explain, Kirti. If you are not able as an international community to play your responsibility of bringing down this war, and this is threatening the global peace and security. Imagine if tomorrow Israel is planning an attack on Iran, and that Iran will retaliate for any attack now from Israel, and that will close the Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean Sea. Not only global trade and oil will be affected, so but even global peace and security. So if you are not willing to play your role to end this war, nobody in the region advocating for a war, except for Mr. Netanyahu. He thinks that only by using power that he can defeat and he can achieve his objective of having only greater Israel in the region. But in the absence of a permanent political frameworks and accepting the UN Security Council resolution for a two-state solution and total refusal of a Palestinian state, this will not bring peace. Actually, the crux of the problem is occupation and expansion. If you end occupation, I think everybody in the region, including Israel, will come back to the table and negotiating table. Because at the end of the day, it's not the war will clear. It's only the negotiation will bring peace.